Welcome to the show.
So happy to be here. I'm glad we finally made this happen.
You know, when I saw, I think it was on LinkedIn or maybe Instagram, that you were leaving nightly news, which is one of my go-tos to get my information, and to go and listen to your heart to change the world, I said, we got to get her on the set. We had to get you in here.
It sounds so crazy when other people say it. At the time, it just seemed like the next logical step. I mean, I loved my career at NBC. I got to travel the world telling stories. It was fantastic. I spent almost 30 years doing that. But as soon as I learned about cancer vaccines, and it was obviously after my own diagnosis with breast cancer in 2019, and I learned that there's this incredible research going on and nobody knows about it. I didn't know about it. I said, I really can do something about this.
The Cancer Vaccine Coalition was built in collaboration with doctors, scientists, and researchers based on what they want and need to move the science forward faster. The CVC is partnered with the nation's top vaccine and cancer researchers with a goal of getting a safe, effective breast cancer vaccine to the market in 5 to 10 years.
I wasn't thinking at all about cancer, breast cancer. My grandmother had had it in her 80s, so I thought maybe it's something that I need to deal with down the road, but we didn't have that strong family history of breast cancer. And, you know, I was in my 40s and I had a young kid, I was busy. And most importantly, I had had a clean mammogram just 4 months before my diagnosis. And so I thought, I'm good. And I was going about my life, and then it was my 47th birthday, I'll never forget it. And I was getting ready to go out and I noticed kind of a dent in my right breast. And I was like, oh, what is that? I knew that it was something, it was a change in my body. And that's really an important message for people is if you notice a change, just get it checked out. Ask your doctor, do, some type of imaging. And I had had dense breasts, which someone had mentioned, but I didn't really understand what that meant. And what it means is that mammogram has a difficult time giving you that image that makes the breast cancer very clear.
After this discovery, Kristen was sent to cover a hurricane in North Carolina. She immediately called the hospital and thought, since so many people were evacuating, they might have a random appointment. In between live shots, she met with the doctors, and they immediately said, you need to get home and have this biopsied. You more than likely have cancer. Within a few weeks, she started chemotherapy and continued for 4 months. She moved forward with surgery, a bilateral mastectomy, and then 25 rounds of radiation. Before cancer and after cancer, are these two different
Kristens?
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I like to think at the core, I'm obviously still the same, and you always say, well, cancer is not going to define me. But it kind of does. I mean, it is that definitive moment in your life where you realize your mortality, where maybe you didn't think about it, and then you're forced to look at it. So I think you reprioritize. People think, oh, you go through the cancer treatment and then you're done and you wear your pink and you're a warrior and you move on. And my message is that it's really difficult what people go through, and I don't think we give enough weight to how hard it is to lose a part of your body. I have no feeling in my chest anymore. I mean, that's just part of it. And I didn't realize that ahead of time. Just didn't give it much thought. And so, I have lymphedema in my right arm. I have trouble lifting it above my head. I have lung fibrosis from the radiation. I every day think about recurrence. So there's this mental aspect of it also. And so it's not, you go through it all and you're done. And that's where I think the beauty of a vaccine that keeps protecting us from this disease. And also if people understand just what it's like to go through breast cancer, I think we would really push harder for these promising groundbreaking treatments. For me, I moved my family to Vermont. We wanted a simpler lifestyle than commuting into New York City every day. I had a 3-year-old at the time of my diagnosis, and while she's always been the most important thing in my life, I knew how valuable that time with her was, and so I didn't want to spend as much time away from her. And so you do look at, what is important to you. And I had a metastases scare where I had 5 weeks where they were waiting to see if something in my brain grew. And so, that's a painful 5 weeks. And the only way they can tell if your cancer has spread is by seeing if it grows. And so in that time, I really did a lot of reflection. And I thought, what do I want to do if I only have a limited amount of time left? Which, ultimately we all only have a limited amount of time.
But this really got you thinking about it.
It got me thinking about it. And I said, well, I want to spend time with my family, obviously. And I want to help people because I will be first in line to get a breast cancer vaccine when the time comes where we have these approved and available.
Well, that's what sounds crazy when you say, because when we hear the word cancer, we all know someone has been impacted. I mean, there's so many different types of cancer. And then to hear the word cancer vaccine, now that kind of does a little bit of a game change.
Yeah, and I want people to understand. So these are both treatment vaccines and maybe down the road preventative vaccines.
So right now it's for when you hear the word you have cancer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's where it's a little bit different than, what we're used to seeing from infectious disease vaccines, like your flu vaccine or your COVID vaccine, because those are preventative. A cancer vaccine in the trials that we're seeing right now, which are ongoing, these are real. This is actually happening, and some of them are in phase 2 clinical trials. There's a melanoma vaccine in a phase 3 clinical trial that should be on the market in 2026. These are for people that have cancer. You get the vaccine, you get your boosters, whatever the doctor says. It's given in addition to what current standard of care treatment is. And then it eliminates, it trains your body, your immune system to fight the cancer. And so it helps you fight off the cancer and eliminate those tumors, prevent it from spreading. For someone like me, I am in remission, but I could be given a cancer vaccine, and then as soon as that cancer and those particular antigens on a cancer cell popped up in my body, God forbid, my T cells would take care of them.
It would know what to do. Have you taken the vaccine?
No. So I'm not eligible yet. I couldn't even qualify
You can't break the rules even though
I know. Trust me, I've tried. But no, because I'm in remission and because I have estrogen positive breast cancer, they haven't started a clinical trial that I would qualify for yet. As soon as they do, I'm going to be raising my hand. So, and we're funding our first trials. And so they're in different subtypes of breast cancer, and we're really excited about, playing a role in pushing this science forward.
Yeah, so when we talk trials, we're talking research. And sometimes I think people think the two are different, but the trials are actually research to understand how we get this out there.
Exactly. So, and a lot of these vaccines have already gone through, obviously, the development phase where they were tested, in mouse models, and now they're in human clinical trials. They've been proven safe in the phase 1 clinical trials. We also have a lot of data on the different types of vaccine technology and that's safe as well. And so we now are looking at them into the phase 2 and 3 clinical trials, which is going to answer the questions of, what are the dosages that we need? And how does it compare to the current standard of care? And what are the combinations that we need that can be most effective? So it may be given with chemotherapy or with a checkpoint inhibitor or with a different type of cancer drug. But the end goal is so exciting because it is eliminating cancer. Reach out to us. We can't do this alone. It's not just a coalition of scientists that we have. It is a coalition of everybody. Because until we stand up and say, you know what, we deserve better, we need this cutting edge science advanced, it's not going to happen without each and every one of us doing that and supporting us.